Hey everyone, Sam here from Sugar Spun Run, and today I'll be showing you how to make edible cookie dough. So I know what a lot of you are probably thinking right now, isn't all cookie dough edible? While I certainly treat it like it is and I'm always sampling cookie dough, technically, as most of you probably know, it's not supposed to be eaten raw. The problem is that raw eggs usually carry salmonella, and recently raw flour has been linked to E. coli. To solve this problem and make this edible cookie dough completely safe for eating, what I've done is I've cut out the eggs, and we are also going to be heat treating our flour. Now let's talk about that flour for a minute. As you can see here, I already have some heat treated flour. Now the way to do this is to measure out your flour. You are going to need 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour and evenly spread that over a baking sheet that's been completely lined with parchment paper. What we'll do is we will pop this in a 350-degree Fahrenheit preheated oven and cook it for 5 to 7 minutes. Once it's finished cooking, we're going to let it cool completely. Now this flour is still a little bit warm because it just came out of the oven, so I'm going to let this cool, and meanwhile I'm going to prepare the rest of our cookie dough. I'm going to be using a stand mixer for today's recipe, but if you don't have one, an electric hand mixer will work instead. So the first thing we're going to need is 2 sticks or 1 cup of unsalted butter, and you want this to be softened to room temperature. We'll add this to the bowl of our stand mixer. And we're going to add 1 1/2 cups of tightly packed light brown sugar, a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Now we'll use our mixer to stir everything together until it's creamy and well combined. Alright, this is looking pretty good, so at this point we can add our flour so long as it's cooled completely. Now again, if you have any questions about how to heat treat your flour, I did include thorough instructions in the printable description below. So I'm just going to knock this extra cookie dough off the paddle because I'm going to need to remove it just momentarily so we can sift in our flour. So I just have a standard sifter here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this parchment paper to hold the flour. Be careful because we don't want to lose any of that flour while we're doing this. And we're just going to pour this flour into the sifter. Now the reason that I recommend sifting your flour is because when it bakes in the oven, clumps are actually going to form. So you don't want these clumps in your cookie dough, so what we're going to do is we're just going to run it through this sifter so that the flour is nicely broken up. And I'm just using this spoon just to work any clumps through that sifter so we don't lose any of our flour. See how we have all these clumps here? All right, we are going to reattach our paddle here. And now you're going to want to mix this together on low speed because you don't want that flour to go flying everywhere. So we'll just gradually start mixing everything together. Now I am going to pause just to scrape down the sides and bottom of this bowl. I want to make sure I have all of the flour nicely combined, and this is actually looking pretty good at this point. I'm just going to stir it another second or 2 longer. One thing I want to note is that in the printable directions, I have included a note that you can add a tablespoon or even 2 tablespoons of milk if necessary. Now, anytime I've made this cookie dough, I've never needed to add milk. It always comes out nice and pretty creamy, a good cookie dough consistency. What I think might be the problem is people are either over measuring their flour. It's really easy to do that if you are scooping your flour rather than weighing it using a scale or spooning the flour into a measuring cup and leveling it off. So either that's the problem, or I think if someone's using an electric hand mixer, it might just not do as good of a job as creaming everything together as it should. So if you have a problem where it's just too stiff and crumbly and not coming together, you can add just a splash of milk just to get everything to come together nicely. All right, the final thing we'll be adding to our edible cookie dough is 1/2 cup of miniature semi-sweet chocolate chips, or a blend of mini and regular sized chocolate chips. And you can either stir this in by hand using your spatula or just mix it on a low speed. So at this point, our edible cookie dough is finished. Now, I have some notes in the recipe below if you want to add different add-ins like peanut butter or cookies or sprinkles. You can add any of those that you'd like or any of your favorite add-ins, but now I'm just going to scoop this and serve it. That's all there is to making your own edible cookie dough. Safe to eat because of our heat-treated flour and the fact that there are no eggs in this. I think you guys are really going to love this recipe, especially if you are a cookie dough fiend like I am. If you guys try this one out, please leave me a comment and let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Hey, if you guys enjoyed today's edible cookie dough recipe, I would love it if you would give me a thumbs up, and please subscribe and even hit that notification bell. If you enjoyed this video, here are a few others you might like as well.